while obtaining them does give you, it goes around the middleman in some sense. It gives you direct access to the developer's work as they make releases. You still rely on GitHub or GitLab or services like that, so that still becomes a middleman. They are a trusted third party in the sense where they could inject malicious builds in there too. So what Zapstore is trying to do is be able to have cryptographically verified builds that would be signed by Nostr users. So I'm going to use it right now to install Amber. Go to Amber. Okay, so here's an important part. We can see who it's built by, and that's a Nostr profile. And then we can see signed by. And if this ecosystem matures and continues developing, you could expect to have your signed by could be, that could be provided by people in your web of trust, and you could potentially see a lot of attestations that this is the correct version, or this is not malicious software or something like that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and install it. And while I'm in Zapstore, I'm installing Amber right now. I'm also going to install the Citrine relay that I just mentioned. All right. And it is also built by Green Art. Installing that.
So what will this do, Stacks? Will this allow you to host all your nodes on your phone?
Having a local relay on your phone should allow you to host your notes yourself. Well, I don't know if host is really the right term, because you're not going to be serving them to anyone else, but it's more just like your private backup. Maybe in the future, it could facilitate more. But as of right now, I think it's just a private backup. So let's open it. Okay, now we have a relay running on localhost. All right, let me jump over to Amethyst. There are some updates in Amethyst that I want to go over in relay settings. So they've added a lot more granular relay settings, where now you can specify public home relays, inbox, even DMs. That's a big thing where I guess they've come up with a scheme for leaking less metadata in your DMs, where you can have a specified relay that I believe it has to do off. So then only you are authenticated to download your DMs. No one else can see them. I guess the relay can see them. So maybe it's a trust model of you trust one relay with this, but you're not trusting, well, but you're not leaking your metadata to all of Nostr. Then there's private relays. This is recommended for drafts, which is another feature that Amethyst has had for a little while. I don't know if I've covered it here. But basically what it does is, while you're working on a note, while you're still editing it, it saves drafts. And from what I can tell, it's saving them on the relays. I don't know if I don't know if every letter you type, I don't know if it goes ahead and like makes a new note and signs it and all that. Maybe it does. But that's a way where you can have those stay on a private relay. Search relays is another category. So relays like Nostrband or Nosware would be good for that. Then it has this category for local relays, and I've already set up my local one here. So that local host with that port, that's the one, that's the Citrine one that's running here. And then finally it has general relays. And I'm still using general relays rather than the inbox, outbox model stuff, because as of maybe a week ago when I checked, it wasn't handling global relay or the global feed the way I would expect to. I like being able to designate which relays I want to include in the global feed, and I wasn't seeing the ability to do that with these more fine-grained relay selections, but that might have already been fixed by now, or maybe it will be fixed soon, and then at that point I would be open to trying to move over to that inbox-outbox model. It is encouraging to see Amethyst making moves in that direction. Okay, so there's not really too much to demo with Citrine. I mean, we can see that it's running here. It does list some errors, so it's a little hard to tell what's actually going on.
Is it an F-Droid or is it just where'd you go get that?
I got it off of the Zap Store app.
Is that an F-Droid?
I don't know if you can get it in F-Droid, but the easiest way to get it would be to go to Obtainium. Use the GitHub link. Okay, so right now the database is empty. So what I can do for a test is if I should be able to just publish anything. So even if I make a change here, like maybe I'll change my relay selections. Now, if I jump back to Citrine, we can see a kind 3. So it did pick up the change. We can see that's working. It does have a restore follows feature. I haven't tried that, and it's bringing up Amber. I'm not sure why it's bringing up Amber, but let's look at Amber next. So right now I have 3 profiles that I'm using, and they're all storing the private key in Amethyst. But I want to try using Amber to log into one of these. So I'll use Anon, which that's my current profile. So I'll go to backup keys. Okay, I guess I might have just I might have just doxed my entire private key there. I'm not sure. Maybe some of it was cut off, but it flashed up on the screen for a moment. But it's okay. It's just a burner account, so we'll see what happens. All right, so I'll go to Amber, and I'll paste in that private key, allow notifications. Okay, now it's set up in Amber. Amber can do multiple accounts too. I haven't even tried that yet, but let's just stick to one for right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to log out of Anon, so that way I can log back in, but I'll use Amber this time. So when I go to add new account, I have the option to log in with Amber, grant permission. There we go. So now, if I go and post something, it immediately brings up Amber. And here I can individually approve requests. So if you're used to the experience with a browser extension and you want to be able to deny or approve requests, it gives you that. You can tell it to remember the choice. Maybe I don't want to post this, so I'm just going to reject it. Sometimes it's cool just to sort of have like a, just like another step. Maybe if you post impulsively like I do sometimes, you get a chance to say, oh, maybe I don't really want to post this. Or you can just approve everything. It's really up to you. So it sounds like I could have multiple profiles set up this way. I want to try it with one of these others, but I don't want to dox the private key. Okay, so I think that's a good introduction to Citrine, Amber, Zap Store. Yeah, let's look at Zap Store.
I just barely installed it.
Yeah, let's look at that one more time. So Zap Store is,
A lot of apps, but
what do we have here? Okay, here's installed apps. You can see available updates, all the apps. Now, I didn't add all these apps through Zap Store. I initially added them through Obtainium, but Zap Store recognizes them. So I could actually remove them from Obtainium. I could probably, even at this point, I could probably stop using Obtainium. If there's 1 or 2 apps that I could get there, that I couldn't get in Zapstore for whatever reason, I could probably just get those on either F-Droid or Aurora Store or even Google Play, because I have recently started using the sandboxed Play services. So yeah, this is pretty exciting, and it's still in pretty early stages. It doesn't have as many options as you'll find in Obtainium, but the Nostr integration part is cool. The idea that Nostr can become a way for discovering apps, like basically having Web of Trust curated lists of apps, is a cool idea. So that basically is the full Android Nostr stack that I know of. Maybe I'm leaving out some important apps. If someone lets me know, I can try to cover them next time. But I think that's pretty much your basic, like, full stack for running Nostr on Android. As far as what's most useful at this point, I'd say Amber. It kind of depends how you use it. If you find having those more granular permissions necessary, it works pretty well. I'm just not sure if I'm not sure if I'm getting too much out of it at this point. Where it would really shine is in a world where you have many Nostr Android apps, and it avoids having to enter your private key on each one. So at this point, I'm mostly just using Amethyst, but on, let's see, on Zapstore, I don't know if Zapstore uses a private key. I don't know if it has anything around that. It might just be public key based. But if it was not just Amethyst, if it was 2 or 3 apps that I was using with my private key, then that would be a pretty good argument for trying to keep that all contained in Amber. Okay, and then on to Citrine. At this point, I don't really see a strong reason for me to use it. I was interested in, I was comparing it to using a self-hosted relay on my Umbrel device, and I end up preferring the Umbrel device. And part of that is just because it's more configurable. If we go into Citrine, there are no options I can see here. There might be a way, there might be some configuration files that I can edit, so I'll have to look into that. But at this point, I find it more useful to have a relay that's an actual server, not just running on the phone. But what I suspect is going to happen is, I think if this ecosystem continues to evolve, I think people will come up with clever ways to use phone relays. And even today, it might be useful for certain things like the saving private drafts, so you don't have those on relays. And I think they might be encrypted, but I'm not sure about that. But yeah, at this point, Citrine was a little bit of an experiment. I'm probably going to stop using it for now, but revisit it in a few months and see if there are any interesting use cases for it. And then Amber, I'm kind of on the fence right now, but I do expect that as more Android apps come out, I'll probably start using Amber more consistently. And then just to summarize on Amethyst with its recent developments, these new relay settings are a big step forward, and I would definitely start more fully using these settings if the global feed was working correctly. So that's it for Android apps. I do have a few web apps to look at. This one is by Hodlbot, and I think this is really cool. It's called keypub.coracle.social, and what's neat about it is it highlights people that you follow who are less active on Nostr. So I can set it, I have these two parameters, show people with fewer than X recent posts. So let's say I want to find people who've only made one post. Well, fewer than two, that would be one post. And I could extend that out as, up to 60 days. But let's say people who've made one post in the last 30 days. All right. There's no way this is right. Vic, he's a very high volume poster. PlebLab is on here. What? I don't know if this is working right.
Yeah, so we just try to post every day.
Yeah. Let me try it one more time. It was working pretty well when I first checked it out. People with fewer than two from up to 30 days. Yeah. Something's not right here. It's a really cool concept. It's one thing with Nostr is it typically drowns out those less active posters. Another new...
Do you have any errors in the console?
Oh, let's see.
Let's give my pointer the benefit of the doubt.
Right?
Oh, website.
Well, that's one. That's just one,
Yeah.
one relay. There should be others. Let's look at the network tab and see what... Probably load it again and see. We're connecting to Damus. It's not using a lot of relays. Purple Pages is just like a directory.
If you're only using big relays, it'll only have like very recent.
It's not using I don't think it's using my relay selections. It just seems to have a very limited list of relays. Maybe it's using my selections, and because but if it's using the inbox outbox model, maybe that's the issue. Also, well, okay, it looks like I'm logged into my.
And I'm not saying John's doing this, but I often wonder when it comes to Nostr because it's so new and it's moving so faster than Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
In some ways, like, do you think there's something to be said about just people pushing out feature requests that aren't fully vetted?
People complain about it. From what I can see, it's the only way to move forward with Nostr development. Because sometimes you would like for a bunch of developers to all get together and just work on one thing. But these developers are like wild cats. I mean, you can't herd them. They're going to do what they want. And you can take the best of it and work around the quirks of it or go somewhere else. It's Nostr. That's how I see it. People are going to work on what they want to work on. You can always do bounties. You can always do bounties for things you want to see. It's not the best model, especially for bigger things, but it's one way. Okay. Coracle has feeds now. That's a big new feature. You can add a feed. And I haven't really played around with this, but you can set people, topics, relays. Relays that's kind of how this got on my radar because I'm pretty interested in using relays as like communities. So having a relay specific feed is a good idea. You can also do a list or lists, DVMs. I don't know how to find DVMs yet, but yeah, just wanted to show that real quick. The next thing, I have two Git-related projects. There's Radical XYZ. What is it? A code forge built on Git. I'm not totally sure what that means. I guess it's like a GitHub clone. And then there's gitworkshop.dev. As far as I can tell, gitworkshop.dev uses something like the email patch model, which I don't fully understand. It seems like kind of a hacky workaround. I don't know. I need to dig into these more. My stuff's still all on GitHub. I've been wanting to check out some of the Nostr-based alternatives for a while, so maybe next time I'll be able to get into that deeper, but I just wanted to put these out there and make sure people are aware. Okay, we looked at this last time. And here's the last app I have on my list today, Apollo QA. It looks like someone's trying to build a QA app that was maybe similar to Swarmster. So here's a QA on how will this be different from Swarmster. And I'm not sure if we've looked at Swarmster, but let's go ahead and pull that up if I can find it. Okay, I think it's just .com. Yeah, so it's basically a Q&A client, but when you ask something, let me say, what is Apollo, their competitor? No, I think it tries to, okay, didn't find anything. I think it tries to find existing answers first, but then facilitates posting your question publicly to try to get answers. And yeah, it would be neat to know how Apollo is going to be different. So it says, Apollo was developed in response to a gap in the Nostr network, a lack of clients specifically for user-driven QA. I mean, that's what I thought. Okay, that's what they're saying. They're like, well, what about Swarmster? So yeah, I don't know the difference. I'll have to dig into that more. But that's all I had prepared for new apps and news. Does anyone have anything they'd like to discuss?